So, I want you to imagine, just for a second, that you're facing this colossal work project, right?
Oh, like a real career-defining headache.
Exactly. I mean, management is completely stumped. They have zero ideas. And then this brilliant outlier just steps into the room and solves the entire thing using walkie-talkies, gas cylinders, and a completely unexpected household item.
Yeah, it sounds like a joke, but it is actually one of the most incredible examples of raw field engineering you'll ever hear.
Welcome to today's deep dive. Our mission today is to explore a really fascinating piece of source material called the Floating Border Genius. And specifically, we're looking at Chapter 35, which is titled The Border That Floated into Place.
It's such a great text
Yeah.
because it shows how a seemingly impossible logistical nightmare was solved. Not with, millions of dollars of expensive tech, but with brilliant, out-of-the-box thinking.
Yeah, it's kind of like an extreme escape room. You're dropped into this massive environment, you're handed this random assortment of everyday items, and you just have to engineer a flawless system to win.
I love that analogy, and it really highlights my core belief here, which is that knowledge and materials are actually most valuable when they're applied in totally novel ways.
Yeah.
This whole deep dive is basically a masterclass in challenging your basic assumptions.
Right. But before we get to the genius solution, we really need to set the stage and understand the sheer scale of the problem that had this boardroom so baffled.
Oh, it was a mammoth task.
Yeah,
That's literally how the text describes it.
literally a mammoth task. So the estate we're talking about is massive. It spans 2,000 acres, and its borders are just completely tangled with all the neighboring lands.
2,000 acres of tangled wilderness. I mean, just what? That is a nightmare, let alone marking a precise legal boundary.
Exactly. So management does what management does. They call a boardroom meeting, and the team is just completely stuck. The ideas flying around are, well, they're wildly impractical.
Yeah, they're panicking.
Total panic. One of the ideas is literally, let's hire helicopters.
Which is just, I mean, how does a helicopter even help you mark a line on the ground through dense trees?
Right. And then someone else says, oh, we can tie colored ribbons to the treetops. Which, sure, visible from the sky, but the chairman just shuts it down immediately.
Yeah, he asks the one question that pops the balloon, right?
Yep. He looks at them and asks, who will tie them?
And the room just goes dead silent.
Dead silent. Nobody had thought about the actual human labor involved in climbing 200-foot trees.
Of course not,
Ah.
because they're entirely disconnected from the reality on the ground.
Right. And here is the craziest part of the story. The protagonist, who the narrator just refers to as their dad, he wasn't even invited to this crucial meeting.
Which is just classic corporate oversight, honestly.
Totally. The chairman realizes they're getting nowhere, asks about the dad, finds out he wasn't invited, and insists he be summoned immediately.
But he doesn't just appear, right? It
Yeah.
takes him an hour to get there.
Yeah, a full hour. And when he walks in, he doesn't take over the room. He just waits patiently. He sits there and lets everybody else have their chance to speak, throwing out all these bad ideas before he makes his move.
He's just taking it all in.
Yeah. Oh, but okay, let's unpack this for a second. Why do management teams facing massive logistical hurdles so often default to these wildly expensive or practically impossible solutions, like hiring helicopters, before even thinking about the human element on the ground?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's really about information overload and boardroom isolation. These executives are sitting in a sterile room far away from the dirt and the trees.
Right, they're looking at a map on a table, maybe.
Exactly. That detachment from practical ground-level reality makes them gravitate toward top-down purchase solutions. They think, we have a big problem, let's buy a big tool, instead of looking at the actual physics of the problem. Which is why the dad's eventual entrance is so incredibly impactful.
So, the high-level executives have totally failed. The stage is set. And this uninvited genius is about to pitch a completely radical approach. But the text gives us this amazing detail about his background inspiration first.
Oh, this is my favorite part, the birthday party.
Yes. So earlier, he hadn't been invited to the managing director's niece's birthday party. Uninvited again.
Bit of a theme for him.
Right. But the text says he attended in spirit. And while he was observing the party, he saw the children playing with hydrogen balloons, and that sparked something.
That is where the gears started turning.
So he's in the boardroom, he finally speaks, and he lays out the foundational logistics. He doesn't start with the balloons. He says, first, we engage a dozen walkie-talkies.
Very sensible.
Then we prepare life-size maps for each border section. Finally, we build observation towers with one section covering 4 sites per week.
He's speaking their language.
Yeah.
Maps, towers, radios, it's standard military-style logistics.
But here's where it gets really interesting. He pivots from that standard stuff to something completely surreal. It's like a chef asking for the finest truffles, a state-of-the-art stove, and then, like, a pack of bubble gum.
Yeah, it's a massive shift in tone.
He looks at the chairman and asks him to order 50 hydrogen gas cylinders and 5 cartons of Nyrod.
And for anyone who doesn't know, Nirod is a very common brand of latex condoms.
Yeah, condoms. The room is stunned. The chairman is just absolutely stunned.
But, if you look at the pattern of true innovation, he is silently synthesizing observations from a child's birthday party to solve a 2,000-acre corporate problem.
Yeah, he completely disconnected the object from its normal use.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a testament to the fact that there's always more to learn from different environments. He didn't see a party toy, and he didn't see a medical device. He saw an airtight, highly durable, cheap latex bladder that could hold hydrogen.
It's just brilliant. But, okay, the boardroom is stunned by this request for gas cylinders and Nyrod, so we really need to explain the mechanical genius of how these items actually work together in the field.
Right, the actual execution is where the magic happens.
So the mechanics of the system work like this. The Nyrod are filled with the hydrogen gas, and they're tethered with high-quality twine.
Crucial detail, the twine.
Right, and they are allowed to float up to a very specific fixed height above the tangled brush.
Because the hydrogen pulls them straight up.
Exactly. It creates a perfectly straight vertical line from the ground to the sky. Meanwhile, you have a representative stationed up in that observation tower we mentioned earlier.
Right, with the life-size map.
With a map. And they are looking out over the treetops, and they can see this floating balloon sticking up out of the canopy.
Because they have a clear line of sight to the sky, even if they can't see the ground.
Right. So the communication loop starts. The person in the tower guides the ground team inch by inch over the walkie-talkie. They're telling them exactly where to stop and exactly where to tie off the marker.
It's amazing. They are literally mapping the ground from the sky without a helicopter.
And he adds this brilliant bonus feature. To make sure the marking could be viewed at night, he suggests painting the Nyrod with fluorescent paint.
Oh, wow. So they can work the night shift, too.
Yeah, just these glowing orbs floating over the jungle in the pitch black. And because of this system, he projects the entire border marking for all sections will be completed in just 1 month.
1 month for 2,000 acres. That is staggering.
Imagine being on the ground team, right? You're being guided through this completely tangled, impassable wilderness by a floating, glowing fluorescent marker at night. Does the sheer simplicity of this make modern high-tech solutions seem almost over-engineered?
Oh, absolutely. What's fascinating here is how this is essentially an analog, precision-guided GPS system created completely from scratch.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Before satellites, before drones.
It perfectly exemplifies the value of critical thinking over pure technological reliance. They didn't need $1 million aerial survey. They just needed geometry, buoyancy, and basic communication.
It's so elegant, but, with the elegant system fully designed, the focus in the text shifts to the immediate reaction of the management and how they actually wrap this project up sustainably.
Right, because ordering 50 hydrogen cylinders is no small thing.
No, it's not. But the dad includes this absolute masterstroke of efficiency. He tells them that any leftover hydrogen cylinders or Nyrod won't go to waste.
Oh, I love this part. They can simply be handed over to the factory and the local hospital.
It's a perfect closed-loop system. Nothing is wasted.
Nothing. And the reaction to all this, the text says the chairman is absolutely amazed, and the management team is left totally dumbfounded.
I bet they were. They were sitting there with their helicopters and ribbons.
Right. They had never thought of using walkie-talkies. They had never thought of hydrogen cylinders or Nyrod, let alone combining all of them into this masterpiece of field innovation. And the text just ends that scene by saying, "Rest is history."
It's the ultimate mic drop in a boardroom.
Truly. So what does this all mean for you, the listener? How do we break out of that helicopter mindset and start looking for the walkie-talkies and twine in our own work?
Well, I think this story proves exactly why multiple perspectives enrich our understanding. The management team only saw a tangled estate problem. They saw trees and brush and an impossible timeline.
Yeah, they were blinded by the symptoms of the problem.
Exactly. But the dad, coming in from the outside, he saw a geometry and physics puzzle that could be solved with everyday objects. He stripped the labels off the items, a party balloon, a condom, and just looked at their physical properties.
He just looked at what they could actually do.
Right. And that's how you break out of the helicopter mindset.
Hmm.
You have to stop looking at the prescribed use of the tools around you and start looking at their actual capabilities.
I love that. So to wrap up, we've seen how an uninvited guest used the inspiration from a child's birthday party to build a glowing, floating, precision-guided border system that totally humbled an entire management team.
A real legend of field engineering.
Absolutely. So I want to leave you with a final lingering question to mull over today. Look around your own life at the complex, tangled 2,000-acre problems you're currently facing. What ordinary, seemingly unrelated hydrogen balloons have you seen in your daily life recently that could be the exact missing piece to solve them if only you dared to look at them differently?
That's the real challenge, isn't it? Finding the genius in the everyday.
It really is. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll catch you next time.